Just as the state's largest flood defence scheme is about to get underway, a controversial debate has arisen. One expert in particular argues that part of the solution can already be found in existing infrastructure on the Lee. On Cork's famous Shaky Bridge, I met Professor Phillip O'Kane, an engineering and hydrology expert who has worked with the United Nations on flood defences around the world. So who is taking responsibility for the river in terms of managing this river flow, coming up to a flood condition?
That's a grey area. The ESB's primary duty is to generate hydropower. If you take hydropower as your primary objective and flood protection as your secondary objective, you attenuate the peak of the flood by, on average, 25%, maximum 50%. That's not enough to protect the city of Cork, and you then conclude high walls are necessary. But if you ask a different question, if you make flood control the primary objective during the flood itself, not at other times, and hydropower as the secondary objective, it turns out that you can knock 70% off the peak of the flood, protecting the city, and that high walls are not required at all.
The OPW have also considered the role of the two hydroelectric dams on the Lee. However, a change in how the dams are controlled would require a change in the existing statutory framework. What's the problem that you see with the walls that are proposed now around containing the island, if you like, of Cork City?
The proposal is to put in many pumping stations which will deal with flooding behind the walls, because the floods come up through the ground, through old culverts, through old sewers, through middens, through buildings that have been demolished. So simply knowing the properties of the ground in the central island is a huge problem. Cork is completely different from the other towns in Ireland where OPW has put in a wall solution.
Right. So what can you do? I mean, if this is not the approach...
Move away, leave the city alone.
And what then?
Use the dams to control the floods on the river, and you use a tidal barrier to control the floods coming in from the sea.